Greet you with the greetings of peace. Peace that's tempered from our hearts, emanating from our mind, and yearning for a world that's tempered by compassion. I greet you with the greetings of peace. Peace that's tempered from our hearts, emanating from our mind, and yearning for a world that's tempered by compassion. Among all of you today, ladies and gentlemen, you have the mother of Suleiman Faqiri, my beloved mother. You have the mother of Jordan Shared. You have members of Dondre Campbell family who I have to pay homage to, my dear friend Jermaine. You have the sister of Sean Spalding. You have the daughter and also the nephew of our dear uncle Ijaz Chowdhury amongst the crowd. My dear friends, the standard that our loved ones were killed should never be the standard that we react in building a better tomorrow. Rather, the standard that we subscribe to, floundering compassion, to building that better tomorrow, to cultivating the flower so it blossoms for a better tomorrow, to implanting the seeds to another Ashley Smith. Rather, that is our standard, because it's a standard that Canadians across this nation know full well that that's important. Canadians across the nations are saying enough. Our fellow Canadians from coast to coast, qui commencent à Colombie-Britannique jusqu'à Terre-Neuve, qui dire, mesdames et messieurs, c'est suffit de la traitement, de la maltraitement des gens qui sont souffrés de la santé mentale. What Canadians are saying, from all the way from British Columbia to the other end coast of this nation, of this great nation, all the way to Newfoundland, that people with mental illness and their treatment is enough. Toutes les Canadiennes disent c'est suffisant. Toutes les Canadiennes disent que c'est notre droit. Notre droit, si on souffre de santé mentale, c'est notre droit pour avoir de justice. It is our right to have justice, suffering from mental illness. Those are my opening remarks. I am an extremely ordinary man who's given an extremely ordinary mission. I honor my late brother, and tempered with my beloved mother and father in guiding me in the work that we're doing today, inspired by my faith in this, my faith. But before I start, I want everybody to look at the pain of another mother, the mother of Suleiman Faqiri. I want to read this quote for everybody to listen here. This is from Mr. John Thibault, the eyewitness at the Quarter Lakes Police Service, the original police service that did not speak with Mr. Thibault, that they did not investigate. Look what he said. They beat him to death. There's no other answer. They viciously beat him to death. I know what I've seen. This is the hands of Suleiman Faqiri, the man that his mother fed milk, the man that raised his youngest brother, the man that taught his mom how to read Arabic, the man that taught me how to pray, the man that taught his younger brother how to drive. This is the Suleiman Faqiri. But today isn't just about Suleiman. Today is about Dondre Campbell. Today is about Ijaz Chowdhury. Today is about Sean Spalding. Today is about Jordan Shared, Pierre Corleone, Rodney Levy, Justin Saint-Amour, Cass Geddes, Andrew Loku. I'll say more names in the end, ladies, and just to give you names. And it's a fitting day today, ladies and gentlemen, for any historical geeks to know today. You know what kind of day today is? The man, one of the greatest embodiment of justice of the last 20th century was Nelson Mandela Day. Today is Nelson Mandela Day. And if we tempered it to what the great French philosopher Michel Foucault, he said in his seminal book, I don't usually talk about Foucault, but I think it's a fitting day that we talk about Foucault. Foucault said in his book, there's no such thing as progress. Progress has gone from the body to the soul, referring to the panopticon. This is very important for us, as individuals are being punished to this day. So with that in mind, let's talk about Suleiman Faqiri. Let's talk about what we as a society, as a nation, as proud Canadians with a proud history of civic engagement, we need to do. C'est bien de parler très bien de qu'est-ce que tous les Canadiens doivent faire. Qu'est-ce que tous les Canadiens peuvent faire contre le traitement des gens qui souffrent de son mental. Quel est notre travail? Premièrement, nous exigeons la transparence. Nous exigeons la responsabilité. Nous exigeons la justice. We demand justice, accountability, and transparency for the violent killing of Suleiman Faqiri. I will not talk about Suleiman's life too much because I've talked about it a lot, and I don't want to break more people's heart, but I want to give some facts before we talk about everything else. 50 bruises, ladies and gentlemen, at the time of his death, according to the Ontario coroner. 50 bruises. C'est les 50 frappés. Both his legs and his hands were tied as he was pepper sprayed. 12 guards went in, they took turns beating him to death. Yet only 3 days earlier, he was ordered by an Ontario judge to be transferred to a hospital because he was only there for 11 days. He was never supposed to be there to begin with. So, you know why they weren't transferring? It's because apparently he was waiting for a bed. Yet now we're spending $500 million on the Ministry of Solicitor General on prisons because there's no bed. 3 jours avant son décédé, la juge a demandé que Suleiman transfère à l'hôpital. Il attend pour une chambre. Ladies and gentlemen, we have some fundamental questions to ask. What kind of society, what kind of nation do we live in when a 62-year-old man suffering from mental illness is shot to death? What kind of society do we live in when a 26-year-old man who calls for help is shot in front of his siblings? What kind of society do we live in when a young man is suffering, is having a heart attack and dies? What kind of society do we live in when a young man is told, young man goes to the hospital, is on suicide watch, and is given to his mom in a body bag? What kind of society do we live in when the mother of Suleiman Faqiri, after 43 months, the 15th of July was 43 months since his killing, is still asking for these 3 monumental yet simple terms: justice, transparency, and accountability, yet they seem to be elusive. We as a nation, we as a society, comme un pays, comme une société, on exige ça. We demand this. C'est notre droit, mesdames et messieurs. It is our right. This is not something unique. This is something within the parameters of our right. But my advice to you, ladies and gentlemen, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart, on behalf of my family, the family that continues to go through the pain, and that we're sharing our collective pain with other families today, that they come and support us, because we're going through the hard work so we could pretend, so we could make sure another family does not go through. I ask all of you, a broken man, to transfer and translate that anger and that rage and that passion into civic action, within the confines of sending emails to your member of parliament, within standing in solidarity in a day like today. We as a nation, we have a rich history of civic engagement. Alors on doit continuer ça. Because ladies and gentlemen, if we allow this system to continue, make no mistake, there will be more body bags whose loved ones are given to their family. There will be more Pierre Corlians, more Justin Saint-Amour, more Cascadis, more Sean Spalding, more Jordan Sherrod, more Suleiman Faqiri, more Ijaz Chowdhury. We have a fundamental problem as a nation in our treatment of people suffering from mental illness. Within the parameters of the justice system, on avoir un problème fondamental de la façon des gens traitement de le système de justice qui sont souffrent de santé mentale. I say some words in French, ladies and gentlemen, because mental illness does not discriminate. I speak to my fellow Canadians, Francophone Canadians, to understand mental illness touches all of us from all backgrounds, ethnicity, race, and gender. And in the names I'm about to give you, you'll see that there's a common denominator. But this man, whose name is Suleiman Faqiri, who I had the pleasure to be his oldest brother, was a man that I loved dearly. We grew up, we went through difficulties, we played video games together, we laughed, we argued, but we learned from each other. Or Sean Spalding's sister, who probably spent some amazing time with her beloved brother. Or Jordan Sherrod's mother, who spent some incredible time with her beautiful son. Or the daughter of Uncle Ijaz Chowdhury, who looked to her father for leadership. Or the mother of Dondre Campbell, who had a special place for her son. Yet the system killed them. Yet the system said, it's not our problem. Yet the system said, here is the body bag, take it. Ladies and gentlemen, if we do not change this, this will continue and our work will be in vain. If we do not change this, then what will our future generations say to us? Will our future generations say to us that we are brave or were we conformist? What will history remember us? Qu'est-ce que l'histoire nous souvenir? Que nous sommes avant des courage, de passion? Suleiman is gone. Ijaz Chowdhury's gone. Sean Spalding's gone. Jordan Sheridan's gone. Dondre Campbell's gone. Andrew Loku's gone. But it is up to you, ladies and gentlemen, Canadians across the nation, beginning with you, to change this. Yes, it's painful. Yes, it's difficult. But what an opportunity. What a responsibility to do this. A monumental difference in that the day we leave tomorrow, we leave today for a better tomorrow. Yes, it's painful. Believe me, I won't even share some of my own pain, but I'll say I've had a very difficult 3.5 years. But I would not change it for a second. You know why? Because for me, it's what Suleiman wanted. For me, what Suleiman needed. And although they killed him, and we should always be disciplined in using those standards. Not the same standard that our loved ones were killed, but it's the standards of the values of the various areas in Canada we're from. I've spoken across the nation, and what I've heard from Canadians from all walks of life, the common theme is they give our loved ones to a body bag without justice, without accountability. Need to enrich and enhance the society to building that better tomorrow, to honoring Sean Spalding, to honoring Jordan Sheridan, to honoring Ijaz Chowdhury, to honoring Dondre Campbell, Pierre Corleone, to honoring them. Honor is a very difficult thing to achieve, but my God, my Lord, it is a powerful mechanism that can change the world. And all of you embody or emanate that part of honor by coming here today. And this cannot be done alone. I leave you off with a few more things before I go. I'll give you some names. And before I start, just a couple of things. There's a rally to hold the 1-month anniversary of our Uncle Ijaz on Monday at 5:30. The Malton People's Movement, please support this family. My family is supporting the Chowdhury family, not because we should, but because we have to, and it's our obligation. So I ask all of you to support the Chowdhury family. Come to the vigil at 5:30 this Monday. My dear friend Angela is organizing a rally for her son Jordan in Barrie on July 26th. So if anybody can make it, we'd love to have you. And if anybody needs a ride, I will make arrangements for you to come. So we need to support Angela and her family. We have to stick together. And then next week in Kingston, Ontario, the jail capital of Canada, la semaine prochaine, la capitale de la prison au Canada, will be our third stop in our Justice for Sully prison tour. After that, we're off to Ottawa, Hamilton, London, and other cities are in the works. So those are the housekeeping items. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give you some names, because make no mistake, my family decided to fight after Suleiman's killing, and we're not going to stop until we achieve justice for all, especially within the confines of mental illness, within the confines of throwing them in segregation. On n'a jamais arrêté, en particulier qu'il est dans les confinements, qui souffrait de santé mentale. On n'a jamais arrêté jusqu'à en avoir la justice. Pour tout. Pour M. Spalding, pour M. Campbell, pour M. Sherd, pour Mme Smith, pour M. Chowdhury. We're not going to stop. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give you some names. Just some names, but many that had a story to tell. And etch them in your heart. Honor them in your heart. And I'll tell you the common denominator. Vancouver, Tony Du, Rodney Levy. Winnipeg, Mature Medot. Winnipeg, Errol Green. Toronto, Andrew Loku. Regis Korchinski-Paquette, Stephen Duffy, Miss Saga, Ijaz Chowdhury, Dondre Campbell, Milton, Sean Spalding, Ottawa, Justin Saint-Amour, Ottawa, Cascadis, Ottawa, Abdurrahman Abdi, Lindsay, Jordan Sherrod, Lindsay, Abdurrahman Hassan, Thunder Bay, Moses Beaver, Kitchener, Ashley Smith, Montreal, Pierre Corleon, East Coast, Matthew Hines, Edmondson, New Brunswick, Chantal Moore, and Lindsay, Ontario, my beautiful, beloved, cherished brother, Suleiman Faqiri. You know what the common denominator, ladies and gentlemen, between all those names? They all suffered from one form of mental illness. You know the common denominator between all of them? They were all given to their loved ones in a body bag because the justice system killed them. You know the common denominator between all those names? Not one has achieved justice to this day. And you know the final common denominator before all of them is that their lives were viewed as cheap because they suffered from mental illness. Leur vie ne compte pas, mesdames et messieurs, parce qu'ils sont souffrés de santé mentale. What kind of society do we truly live in? Hope everyone can hear me. What kind of society do we truly live in when people with mental illness are given to their families in body bags?
Shame.
Quelle société, mesdames et messieurs, nous habitons que des gens de souffrir de santé mentale, leur famille leur trouver dans un sac? The time is now to change that. The time is right now that we must change that. And because if we don't, there will be more Suleimans, there will be more Ijaz Chowdhurys, there will be more Sean Spaldings, there will be more Jordan Sherrods, and there will be more Dondre Campbells. I leave you with this quote, ladies and gentlemen, and then after this quote, I want everybody to say justice for Sully. Suleiman was a special man. This movement, he was the catalyst for it, but this movement is no longer just about Suleiman. It's about our collective grief, inspiring Canadians to treat people with mental illness with respect and dignity and honor. Nelson Mandela Day, I don't know if all my quotes today is particularly important, who spent 27 years unjustly in the South African jail. We all know the quote he said, the greatest measure of any society is how that society treats its most vulnerable. The greatest measure of a society is how a society treats its most vulnerable. La meilleure façon, mesure dans partout toutes les sociétés, c'est leur traitement de leurs gens qui sont faibles. The pain of my mother rests with me, rests with Suleiman. The pain of all our loved ones rests there. We suffer and we die every day because the justice system killed our loved ones. But we will continue to fight with vigor, dignity, honor. Follow me, ladies and gentlemen. Justice for Sully. 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 Justice for Sully.
Justice for Sully. Justice for Sully.
Merci beaucoup, Tashakkur. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Peace and greetings be upon all of you.
Really strong in our community. Those of us who are, coming out to speak and to share our care and our love at actions time and time again. Those who have been out in the streets have to take care of themselves too, or else we don't have movements that sustain themselves and continue, right? And so there's all this going on today. I know that BLM has been active in the streets of Toronto. There are movements mounting and connecting left, right, and center, and we need these stories to get interconnected to all of those movements so that we build our capacities and we build our ability to take the grief and the anger and the sadness that we all feel differently from whatever places we're coming from, but to use that as collective fuel to build and build and build the capacity and the resources that we have to be able to not just respond when another horrifying death happens, but to remember that none of this has ever been about a few bad apples. We are talking about a carceral system that from its inception had the project of dominance over in mind, and a dominance that is deeply, deeply rooted in racialization, is deeply rooted in gender-based violence, is deeply rooted in colonialism. And we have to keep these interconnections alive. We have to remember the living. But it's also absolutely crucial that we never, ever forget the names of the dead, and that we never stop saying their names. So before we part here today, I would like to invite the families of any of the dead to come up and join us up front. We are going to have a moment of silence. You're also welcome to stay wherever you're comfortable, but this is usually where we try to grab the folks who feel comfortable coming up for some of those photos of, you know, something none of us ever want. Nobody wants to be in a photo with a whole bunch of other families of people who have lost their loved ones. But this is about building a movement and seeing that across so many different walks of lives coming to this from different spaces, we are all stronger when we stand together.